Welcome to Within the Frame, where we bring the most pressing issues across the globe into focus. I'm Kim Mok-yeon. South Korea has set its sights on becoming one of the world's top defense industry powers, and the Canadian Submarine Procurement Program is a key milestone in that journey. This high-stakes competition goes beyond just securing an export contract. It's about strengthening national security and deepening industrial partnerships. With South Korea's proposal of a comprehensive countertrade package, the CPSP is more than just a procurement deal. It's a test of South Korea's naval capabilities and its position in the global defense market. On Within the Frame tonight, we'll explore the strategic, economic, and security implications of this deal and what it means for the future of Korea's defense industry. And for this, we connect to Kim Mo, professor at the Department of Public Administration at Konkuk University. A big welcome.
My pleasure.
And also joining us is Ji-hoon Yu, research fellow at the Korea Institute for Defense Analysis, who's also a former ROK Navy commander. Good to see you.
Thank you for having me here.
Now, let's start a discussion with Professor Kim first. So, like I've said, the government has set a goal to become a top 4 defense industry power, and the Canadian Submarine Procurement Program is being mentioned as a key test to this. First, could you explain for our viewers what exactly is this project and why is it so important for South Korea to win this contract?
Yes, with climate change, Arctic Ocean routes are being cultivated, which will reduce logistics costs significantly. For Canada, strategic importance of this region and area has been increasing, and to cope with this, Canada is trying to replace its existing Victoria-class submarines, which were former Royal Navy of UK Upholder-class submarines, by acquiring 12 new submarines. That's CPSP. And there are several countries that can produce competitive and marketable conventional submarines that could meet Canadian requirements, which are longer endurance and Arctic Ocean environment, which translate into bigger displacement and possibly longer endurance enabled by air-independent propulsion systems. So at first, Korea, Japan, and Germany were contending. Japan dropped out, and now we have Korea and Germany competing for the last moment. And like the K9 Voyager case and K210 case, the country that gets this deal will have a commanding height in getting the conventional submarine market worldwide. And that's why Korea is pitching very hard.
Right, so it will definitely be an opportunity for South Korea to, pursue long-term security and become an industrial partner itself. Now, let's also invite Dr. Yu to the conversation. So, you're a former ROK Navy commander yourself. What would the strategic significance be for South Korea's Navy and defense industry if it succeeds in securing this Canadian submarine deal?
Well, I believe that if South Korea wins the Canadian Submarine Procurement Program, it will be more than a single export success. I think it will be a strong strategic endorsement. As you know, procurement standards of Canada are among the most demanding in the world, and a Korean win would show that Korea's submarine design and program executions and through life support can meet the expectations of a G7 and NATO navies. I think the message is even clearer because Canada is seeking submarines that can operate across the Atlantic, the Pacific, and the Arctic approaches, proving Korea can deliver endurance, reliability, and rigorous sustainment performance, not just competitive pricing and fast constructions. I also believe the significance for the Republic of Korea Navy would be both operational and strategic. A deeper undersea partnership with Canada could strengthen maritime cooperations between the Indo-Pacific and the Euro-Atlantic theaters and expand practical collaborations, including advanced anti-submarine warfare training exchanges, readiness and maintenance practices, and lessons from harsh environment operations. I think meeting Canada's requirement would also push forward the capabilities such as signature management, sensor integrations, maintainability, and crew habitabilities with the benefits that can feed back into Korea's own submarine roadmap and undersea deterrence posture. I also believe the CPSP could anchor Korea's defense industry over the long term, shifting the focus from simply building platforms to delivering a global sustainment and modernization ecosystem. A program of this scale would strengthen production efficiency, reinforce quality assurance, and most importantly, establish schedule credibility that shapes future competition outcomes. It would likely expand Korea's North American supply chain footprint and the long-term in-service support role, as long as Korean deliver credible local participations, training and infrastructure, and dependable on-time delivery.
Right, so definitely it's a very good opportunity for South Korea. But what about for Canada? From Canada's perspective, Dr. Yu, since you recently had discussions with key figures in Canada about defense cooperation, what is Canada's view of South Korea's submarine operational experience and shipbuilding maintenance capabilities?
Well, from what I've heard, Canada's messaging around CPSP is consistent and clear. It frames the program as the long-term three-ocean capability, covering Atlantic, Pacific, and Arctic approaches, with a focus on sovereignty, credible deterrence, and the ability to remain on patrol for extended periods. That is why Canada emphasizes under ice capability, long range, and endurance, and an integrated package that includes training, infrastructure, and the long-term sustainment, rather than treating CPSP as a simple platform purchase. From that perspective, Canada is likely to view South Korea's submarine operational experience as a meaningful strength. Korea has sustained, submarine operations for decades in a demanding security environment, which it tends to, produce a mature operational culture with a strong safety discipline, a rigorous readiness routines, and realistic training standards. At the same time, Canadian decision makers will want credible evidence that these strengths translate to Canada's specific mission profile, especially long deployment and harsh environmental performance implied by Arctic operations. On shipbuilding and maintenance, Canada will generally regard the South Korea's scale and execution capacity as highly competitive, particularly in terms of delivery credibility and industrial resilience. But Canada's bottom line is not only whether Korea can build submarines well, it is whether Korea can help Canada sustain them reliably for decades by building real capability inside Canada. In practical terms, the key test will be the credibility of the long-term maintenance and support plan, including local workforce training, stable access to spare parts, a clear upgrade pathways, and arrangement that keeps submarines available and ready throughout their service life.
Right, definitely. So the whether how much kind of trust we'll have on both sides in order for long-term maintenance and support would be very important in this matter. But as this competition continued to deepen, the Canadian submarine deal, it has become a national level industrial package contest. And South Korea, it has proposed a counter-trade package combining steel, AI, space, and rare earths. So, Professor Kim, how do you think this will influence the procurement process?
Yes, at first, pure performance was the comparison point, but after Germany introduced industrial cooperation package, Korea responded by offering even bigger industrial package. So it's now, as you mentioned, it's a national competition of some kind. Germany offered battery project for autos, a rare earth mineral project, and some AI project. And Korea also proposed AI project, also a comprehensive range of different projects. But one peculiar aspect of the Korean offset program is so-called one-team approach where Hyundai Motors is participating. Hanwha Ocean is going to work with a Canadian steel company named Algoma when the deal is done. Hanwha Ocean is going to work with a Canadian unicorn named Cohere to develop AI specialized for shipbuilding. Hanwha System is also going to participate in satellite programs in Canada. Also, Hyundai Heavy Industries, one of the members of the One Team approach, is going to buy Canadian oil through Hyundai Oil Bank, their subsidiary company. So in sum, Korea's offset program is more comprehensive, wider in scope, focusing on tangible outcomes compared to those offered by German counterpart. So not only submarine itself is better from Korean side because Korean submarines are active in service with the Korean Navy, meeting the Canadian requirement while the German submarine is at the design stage, but also the industrial package itself is more refined in the Korean side. So taking that as a backdrop, it would be an interesting observation point to see how this proposal would work as a leverage to make the deal.
Right, definitely. Many people are really looking forward to this deal. But as you've touched upon, Germany is also in the race, and it's offering a package that links the EU, NATO, and resource and battery industries as well. So compared to this, Professor Kim, what areas of improvement do you think we will have for South Korea in comparison to Germany? Mm-hmm.
Yes, as I mentioned, submarine itself is superior in the Korean side. Industrial cooperation package is also superb in my viewpoint. So what is to be improved, if there is any room, would be offering a better financial deal, as we always find in other defense procurement deals, to persuade Canada. Always money matters, so that's one of the final avenue to go. And another avenue to cultivate it would be assurance. As Commander you mentioned, building assurance between Korea and Canada will help Canada to understand the value of Korean offer. So that will be the room to improve from this moment.
Right. So it means South Korea isn't just competing on technology and financial advantages, but also on alliances and strategic alignment as well. Now, let's shift our discussion a little bit to industry, from industry to operations. So Canada has a unique maritime security environment that takes into account the Arctic, the Atlantic, and the Pacific as well. So from a military and operational perspective, Dr. Yu, what advantages could South Korean submarines have in Canada's security environment?
Well, based on my personal experience, I think that maritime security environment of Canada is shaped by distance, diversity, and more than ever, the Arctic. In that setting, a submarine has to do more than look strong on paper. I mean, it must cover long transit distances, stay on station for extended periods across different theaters, and then return to readiness quickly. In practice, I believe endurance and sustained availability are what matter most, because they determine whether a submarine can provide a persistent presence in the Atlantic, Pacific, and the northern approaches. In that context, I think Korean submarines could offer real value, but only if the overall solution is built around Canada's operational realities. Canada will need a platform that can shift missions smoothly, surveillance and intelligence collections, deterrence signaling, denier, and support to joint operations without pushing Canada toward a separate, specialized fleet for each oceans. I believe a versatile submarine paired with a clear operational concept and a realistic deployment model can reduce complexity and help Canada generate, reliable undership presence across the three theaters. I also believe Korea can contribute the practical know-how from decades of undersea operations in the Indo-Pacific, where readiness is not optional and operational demand versus disciplined training, tactics, and maintenance routines. That experience can translate into concrete cooperations, training pipelines, tactics development, and sustainment best practices, especially as Canada expands its engagement in the Indo-Pacific. But I think the decisive factor will still be sustainment. Readiness is ultimately won or lost in maintenance capacity, parts availability, and responsiveness and workforce continuity. That is where I think Korea's potential advantage could lie on availability-focused packages that combines maintainable platforms, a credible training concept, and a long-term sustainment plan focused on the outcome. Canada will judge above all else consistent operational availability over decades, including under Arctic conditions.
Then, Dr. Yu, when we expand our discussion a little bit too broadly, maritime defense is also being highlighted as a key growth area for South Korea's defense industry. So as a former naval commander, why do you think maritime defense can actually become a new growth pillar for South Korea's defense industry?
Well, I think maritime defense can become a genuine growth pillar because, more countries are putting security at sea higher on their national agenda. They are focused on practical needs such as protecting sea range of communications, strengthening deterrence, and improving maritime domain awareness. In my view, naval platforms sit at the center of that shift. They also matter economically because, they are long cycle programs that naturally create enduring industrial relationships, training ties, and sustainment partnerships. I see South Korea as well positioned in this environment because its industrial strengths align with what maritime customers actually value. Korea brings, shipbuilding scale, growing capability in combat system integrations, and expanding ecosystem in enabling technologies such as sensors, communications, and AI-enabled maritime systems. If these strengths are packaged as an integrated offer covering design, construction, integration, training, sustainment, and upgrades, I think the K defense can move up the value chain from selling individual platforms to delivering operational capability and long-term availability. I also believe maritime programs that reinforce Korea's broader strategic narrative. They can support stability by helping partners operate safely and effectively in the Gulf maritime commons under shared rules and norms. That matters for legitimacy and trust because many partners want defense cooperations that strengthen the security while managing escalation risks rather than actions that could unintentionally increase instability.
So after hearing all this, on the flip side, there are also criticisms that South Korea's defense policy remains kind of too focused on winning contracts itself. Professor Kim, what do you think is the most urgent change that is needed in this defense policy?
It is understandable to find that criticism, but the focal point is that the leverage on domestic economic side. I think government wanted to have a leverage effect from outside to inside domestic economy. And that's why winning the contract was emphasized. So one turning point we should eye on would be to have longer and wider viewpoint in promoting defense industry. In other words, defense contracts, once they are done, it'll take at least several years for implementation. And sometimes home runs or mega deals are not every year or every day happening like media and people expect in everyday lives. So we may have to design in promoting defense industry a portfolio concept. That is, for example, product A can be a big hit this year, product B can be another hit next year. So overall, we may have to have some endurance in watching and promoting defense industry. That's the way we should go.
Right, so we will have to be ready with a portfolio to be and lean up to different circumstances in the future. Thank you so much for your ideas, Professor Kim. But we'll have to wrap up right here. Thank you so much again, and also Dr. Yu. Thank you again for your insights tonight.
Thank you so much.
And that'll be all from us on Within the Frame. Be sure to tune in again next time as we continue to explore the stories that matter. Until then, stay informed and engaged.